Well, when I came back, and by the time I turned heel, I'd been working for several years, and I had enough knowledge and I knew what to do in the ring, to basically lead a match and stuff like that, do things that made sense, and had a good business mind by that time. And I worked, me and Mike were the ones that started off. I mean, I turned on him and I worked with him, and man, he was great. I mean, he would listen, and he was a pretty good little worker, and he's a Von Erich and Kevin. You just had me and Kevin just fought each other like a street fight every time we got together. I mean, I've been in easier street fights than fighting with Kevin, but people loved it. You could see that we were getting down with each other, and David had passed away by the time I came back in '85, so I didn't ever get to work with him. That would have been great. But and then Kerry came back in '86, and I started working with him, and he and I could work together really well too. I worked together, and even Lance, I worked with all of them, and we all got along really well, and it was a good deal. We put our time in, and we worked hard. We didn't ever lay around. We got down, but we all, at the end of the day, it was about making money and putting more people in the stand.
Do you think, in hindsight, the Lance Von Erich gimmick was a little too transparent to the fans? Because they were pretty smart fans. They realized he really wasn't a Von Erich, and that kind of didn't get over the way I guess they wanted to. Did you think that was a good idea at the time, or were you thinking, I don't know about this? These fans might know he's not really one of the Von Erichs.
I can see the concept of why they thought it would be good, but in the long run, as I look back, no, it hurt them. David had died, and then Kerry hurt himself the very next year, so they only had Mike and Kevin. I mean, they were short on Von Erichs. And Kevin and Mike couldn't carry the whole load, and they see this guy and they bring him in. I understand the concept, but it never went over like it should. I love Lance. He was a super nice guy, but he just never really learned how to work. It just wasn't. He wasn't a blood Von Erich. You know what I mean? And people, just like you said, people know that they're not blind. So.
And then, there was so much tragedy. Obviously, David, Michael, Kerry, I mean, all of them end up either, committing suicide or having an overdose or something crazy, as far as just these tragedies just kept striking world class. And each time, it took a little bit out of world class. They were so hot at one point. They're one of the best territories in the whole country, in the whole world. They were just dominating, and slowly but surely each tragedy hits, and it just took a piece out of world class each time. When you're a part of that, is it just kind of shocking to you each time something like that happens, and almost like a little bit of you, dies inside because all these tragedies are happening around you?
It does. It has a distinct negative effect on business and the whole culture and everything. And because these guys, they were it here. David, passed away in Japan in '84. Mike committed suicide in '87. Chris, the youngest one, shot himself in the head in '91 out of his folks' place in East Texas, and then Kerry in '93. I mean, I buried 4 of my closest friends in 9 years, man, and that was tough. As I look back, and it was just hard. There's no other way. Not only are you losing a lifelong friend each time, in the worst possible way, the business started suffering as well, because I mean, Kerry and Kevin then were the only ones left, I mean, that was it. So, it's just hard to, everything has its moment in the sun, its limelight. And in end of '82, '83, '84, when David passed away, it hurt them, but they still, Mike was coming up, and they still had Kerry and Kevin that still could carry the load. But I think when the world class really took a hit is when Kerry hurt his foot when he had the motorcycle wreck in '85 and was out for 15 months or whatever. That took a toll on the business, because then it was left with Kevin and Mike, and then they brought Lance in, and I think that was at the start of the decline. It didn't decline immediately, but I think people. I mean, it was Kerry, Kevin, and David. They were it. You know what I mean? And they were only 3 years apart. Kevin and David were only like 13 months apart, and Kerry was 2 years younger than David. So there's three brothers that are only 3 years apart, all three of them. So everything was set around them, and it takes its toll. It just it breaks up the family, it breaks up the business, and the flow that you had with all of them together, it hurt the business. That's for sure.